Commissioners, I recognize Susan Edwards. I want to remind you that this comes to the board as a recommendation from the Audit and Finance Committee to be approved.
Commissioners, before I got into the details of the resolution and the amendments themselves, I thought it would be helpful to refresh everyone's memory on the structure of our pension plan. As you may recall, prior to 1999, KUB's pension plan was actually joined up with the city. We were part of the city's pension plan. Our benefit structure was the same as those for general government employees. Our funds were managed jointly, and we had a seat on the city's pension board. But after 1999, we have our own pension plan. We started that in 1999. We have our own governance with administrative and investment committees and your oversight as well. Our own plan design, which when we designed it included both a defined benefit, defined contribution hybrid plan that's been in place since 1999. And our pension trust fund is managed independently of the city. So since 1999, we've had our own plan. The other major development since that occurred was in 2011 when we closed the defined benefit portion of our plan to new entrants and replaced that with an enhanced 401k plan. So that's sort of the entire history of the KUB pension plan in one slide. The investment policies are important documents as part of our oversight of the plan itself. There are separate policies in place for the pension fund and for the 401k plan. Broadly speaking, what they do is set our investment objectives and our allocations, especially within the pension trust, how we allocate our investments. And they have performance standards so that we can judge the performance of our fund managers in the pension plan and also the investment options that we offer to our participants in the 401k. Changes to these policies require your approval, and the last time we sought that approval was in 2009. So this is something we do every few years. The amendments that are before you today are housekeeping amendments in large part. There are no changes that would impact benefit levels or plan costs, plan design, any of those things. These are strictly speaking housekeeping changes for the investment policies alone. The process for amending these policies, as Ms. Roach said, they came to the Audit and Finance Committee back in October, but before that there was a great deal of review and work done on these, starting with the drafting process, which included our pension system counsel, Bill Mason, our investment consultants, which are Mercer Consulting, and our actuary, which is Chiron Consulting. They worked for several months developing the amendments that you have before you today. Those were reviewed by the investment committee of the retirement system, and they were recommended by the retirement system to the Audit and Finance Committee for consideration. As you've already heard, they approved that and bring it to you today for your consideration as the full board. You received a write-up about what the amendments contain in your board packet, so I won't go through everything in detail, but at a very high level, these are some of the changes that are before you today. For the pension investment policy, one of the changes is to reflect the fact that the plan has been closed to new entrants. As I said, we haven't brought these to you since 2009, and the plan was closed in 2011. So the new policy reflects the fact that the defined benefit plan is closed to new entrants. And it replaces our investment objectives as they were written with a more general objective to match our investment objectives for the pension trust to square up with what we are using in our actuarial assumptions. Because over the long term, that's what the trust is there for, is to match up our investment performance with what our actuarial assumptions are. So that is clarified in the new amendments that you have before you today. In the 401k, the biggest change is in how we present our investment options for our participants. We have long had a list of the different types of investment options that are available for our 401k participants. The new policy outlines those in 4 tiers to help us better explain to our employees the range of options that they have available to them. And those include the lifestyle tier, which is really the simplest from an investor's point of view. You pick a date at which you think you might retire, and then the asset allocation is managed for you by our plan administrator, which is Fidelity. The next level up is our passive or our index funds. For those who want to have a little bit stronger role in their asset allocation but want to track an index, they can invest in those funds. We have actively managed funds for those who want to seek a little bit greater reward. And then at the highest level of the spectrum, we have a brokerage window. So if you want to access a mutual fund that is not in our standard offering, you can go through that window and access any mutual fund on Fidelity's platform. So that will help us to explain the range of options better for our participants. And lastly, in both of the policies, we are adding some clarifying language to make it clear that the investment committee does have the authority to invest in those passive index funds. Our council has advised us that we have that authority, but this makes it actually plain language in the investment policy itself. And we're updating our performance standards. Those are the benchmarks we use to evaluate the success of any manager on our plan. One thing I wanted to also talk briefly about today is a question that came up when we went to the Audit and Finance Committee back in October, and that is, with the defined benefit part of our plan closed now, what are we doing to educate our employees, especially those who are only in 401k, about their ability to manage their retirement savings, and what tools do we have for them to be sure that they're making good decisions all along the way. These are some of the things that we do, and I'll start with our benefit staff. That is our frontline resource. We do a good job at new hire orientation of letting people know about our plans, but as we know, anytime you're a new hire, you're hearing about that along with policies and a lot of other things. So we actually go back to our new employees a few weeks after they've settled in and bring them back, sit them down at the computer, help them to set up their 401k online account if they haven't done that already, show them how they can adjust their funding allocations and make those decisions so that they're familiar with how the fund works and they have those hands-on tools. Another thing that we've added in the past 18 months or so is a core financial wellness program. This is a Dave Ramsey product for the workplace where employees can come to a 12-session training program that helps them learn how to manage money. It's everything from household budgeting to saving for retirement or college, managing debt, all the things that you need to know to have a secure and financial future. And that has actually been a real big hit with our employees. We've had 69 folks go through that program so far, and they have self-reported to us the outcomes of their participation. We've had 27 credit cards cut up, and we've had reports of about $157,000 in personal debt paid down as a result of participation in this.
Now, is this once a year? Do you do it once a year?
No, we've been doing it about twice a year. We'll have another one starting after the first of the year. So, and we've offered them in different places. We've had them in our corporate services. Our last round was held at the Fleming Center on Jackson Avenue, so we could access our operations employees during their breaks as well. So it's been extremely popular, and we think we'll be offering that for a while. It's really been beneficial. Fidelity, as I mentioned, is our plan administrator on the 401k side, and they offer educational opportunities for our employees as well. They're here quarterly for on-site workshops, and they offer individual sessions when they're here. Also, certainly they have a large online presence for people who are more comfortable doing that access online. And then we also have a financial advisor that we offer to particularly folks who are getting ready to retire. And this is a service that we've offered, I think, ever since we started the new pension plan back in the late 90s. Our plan design for the new pension plan in 1999, and certainly with the 401k, is that when you retire, you will have this lump sum of money that you can take as a lump sum, you can take as an annuity. You have a lot of different options. And so when you're getting ready to retire, we set you up to sit down with an independent financial advisor for one session to help you make those decisions about what's going to be best for your retirement. So these are some of the big things we do. We certainly have employee newsletters and other things that we update current events on as well. So that's some of the things we're doing to help make sure our employees are taking advantage of their benefits. So that's all I had on the amendments themselves, which brings us to the resolution. If you adopt this today, then the revised policies would take effect on January 1st. Now, would you like to answer your questions?
Questions? How often do we review this? And we did that in 2009. I don't remember us talking about this much since then, but maybe we have. How often do we? I know we've got a committee that's looking at it all the time, but
I don't know that there's a hard and fast rule, but every few years we sort of take our list of things we need to work on next time we do this, and we kind of go through an overhaul if we do this. Certainly, if we ever had any major changes in our allocation or how we wanted to invest our funds, that would be reason to come back.
Now, the four options, I think at one time there was a list, and we had somebody pick and choose kind of for them, which was, do you still have that? And which is, okay.
Yes, if you don't select an option, especially now when we have the 401k that has a non-elective contribution on KUB's part, so we're going to invest even if you choose not to as an employee. We do have an auto enrollment function that puts you in the targeted retirement date fund until you choose something else.
Questions? We need a motion and a second.
so moved.
Okay, we have a motion and a
Cornell. Commissioner Robinson. Commissioner Simmons.
Aye.
Commissioner Thompson.
Aye.
Commissioner Williams.
Aye.
Resolution 1284 is passed.